Thank you. Tara, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Awesome, great. Okay, well, I think most of you have probably gotten, does anyone want one of these? Yes? Okay. It hasn't changed much since the last time I handed it out, but it's a good job. There you go. Anyone else?
Wednesday, 14th. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Can I have
Monday,
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Monday, 19th. Tuesday night we had 4 load classes. Wednesday night we had 2 load classes.
Sorry. Okay. So clean energy communities. I presented that all this summer, and the town has started with the process. The unified solar permit is what the town passed back in July, I think it was. But there's still progress to be made if you'd like to be designated. And there are still grants available for this program, so I think that that's the most important thing. For those of you that aren't aware, Clean Energy Communities is a program through NYSERDA. It's available to counties, cities, towns, and villages, and it provides grant money for clean energy projects. This is an updated map. This wouldn't have been at the last meeting, kind of showing the communities throughout the state that are now participating as of like last week, I think is when I did this. So there's quite a few now in Delaware County. Franklin is actually on the map. The blue dot means that you started the process, and then the dark blue means that you're designated. So there's nobody designated yet in the county. Just a reminder on how to become a clean energy community. You would work with the coordinator, which is myself, to identify action items, receive approval for the process from NYSERDA, and then apply for grant funding after you're approved for all of them. So once you're designated, you're eligible for the grants. The grant funding is based on Southern Tier Economic Development Council, which is that kind of block of counties there. There are 4 large and 14 small grants, and you will see, actually, I meant to move that down. You're going to ignore that first one, that large level, but the small medium is what we're looking at for the town of Franklin. There are still 9 grants available for $50,000 for the small level. There are quite a few communities in the state that are working, or the Southern Tier that are working towards this now. There's about, including Franklin, about 15 or so. So the message behind that is that not everyone's unfortunately going to get a grant, but this doesn't just include our county, that includes other parts of the Southern Tier, the Western Southern Tier, Tompkins County, that whole area as well. So, and they're all moving at different paces, so it's very hard to say who's going to get it, but the quicker you move, the more likely you'll get it. Just a reminder on the details. You have 3 months to submit a proposal for grant funding once you're designated, 6 months to start the work on the project, and 3 years to complete the work. So that's the time frame, which is usually pretty doable for a $50,000 project. So they don't require any local cost share, these grants, so they're all just straight up funding for the town, and they must be used for actions that reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And then up to 25% is available for advance payment.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Back, I see it for villages and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the village of Franklin, could they at least apply for the $2,500?
Yes. Oh well,
Yeah.
that has passed actually.
Oh, that's all passed.
That was
Okay.
a CFA fund
Okay.
that was available in the summer,
Yeah.
but they are eligible for this grant, so
Okay.
that's also important as well.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the selection criteria go, I'll just kind of go through that one because that one's a little block there, but is it within a reasonable time frame, which is 3 years? Does it have a direct, what was that?
You want that taken down? So you
Oh, I mean, I think it's fine. It's
Okay.
yeah, not a big deal. is it a reasonable time frame, which is 3 years? Does it have a direct impact on greenhouse gas emissions, which is really what this grant is really looking at? Are you collaborating with other municipalities? That's a portion that'll get you another 15 points. Is it innovative or replicable? And then does it leverage private and public dollars? So, you know, these each are assigned a point value. You have to get to 60% of the points in order to be approved then from NYSERDA. It's pretty doable to get to this with most of the projects that, you know, I think the town was thinking of. There's a few projects that we might have to, you know, work on it to get to that point level, but I haven't seen too many municipalities struggle with this portion, so. And then on to the high impact action items. So I'm just going to make some recommendations here as well as highlight the one that the town has already done. And then there's a decision that would need to be made as far as what maybe that fourth one would be. This is a full list of all of them. The unified solar permit was completed back in July. Two others that I would strongly recommend just because they're very easy and they don't require a lot of effort, but from the town. Energy code enforcement training, which actually your code officer is already kind of on the list for. If you share a code officer with other towns and they've signed up already to get theirs trained, you will also get the credit. So Hampton, correct me if I'm wrong, is already signed up and they will be getting theirs trained, their code enforcement officer trained in the next month or so. And you're on that list. So that one's pretty much a given. And then benchmarking is one where you would have to pass a resolution. I've got a copy or two of that here, just in case anyone wants to look at it. It's a template that NYSERDA provides, basically saying that you will be tracking and reporting energy use of municipal buildings over 1,000 square feet. So it's something that I can help you with. I can actually set up the EPA portfolio manager, which is how they want you to track it for you. I think every town that I've worked with currently in the county has done this action item just because of its ease. So you can feel free to talk to some of those towns and figure out how their process went and ask them questions if you have any others that I can't answer. So, and then as far as the fourth one goes, there's a list of a few of them that I think you know, could be accomplished. Clean Fleets is one that a few towns in the county are trying to do, installing EV charging stations. The other one that has been pursued by a few towns is Clean Energy Upgrades, which is a 10% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from an upgrade maybe to your lighting systems or heating systems. And then there's the others as well, which I haven't had any in the county pursue, but certainly are doable. So.
Now on Clean Energy Upgrades, that's not a proposal, that's actually, that's got to be
It has
achieved.
to be implemented, but it does not have to be achieved yet. So there was 2 towns that did this. Meredith did it based on a LED upgrade they did in 2015, and then actually Hamden just did it. They just did the install like a few weeks ago, and I was able to calculate the greenhouse gas emission savings that they would be saving in the future, and that's enough to be cleared up. So they just need to know like the wattage, like this went from this watts to this watts, and that's enough for them to
But they
calculate.
have a 300%?
It was something like that.
Amazing
Yeah,
number.
it's an amazing number, yeah. So it's pretty easy to get to 10% is basically the theme of that one.
Right.
But you would have to do some type of install or figure out something you've done in the past 2 years.
Okay.
I can kind of go through these. So benchmarking, we just kind of talked about. This would require the passing of a resolution. And then setting up EPA portfolio manager. Code training, as I mentioned, getting your code officer signed up for that training. Upgrades is the 10% reduction. Clean Fleets, and this doesn't just include EV charging. If you wanted to do a municipal vehicle that was an alternative fuel, that's another option. I haven't seen any small municipalities go with that option yet, but I will certainly walk you through that if that's something of interest to you. Solarize campaigns. These are looking at, there's a campaign that would have to be undertaken in the town It would be about a 4 to 6 month process, and at the end of it, you need to have 10 installs of solar. It's difficult for smaller municipalities, that's why I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but certainly something to pursue. For example, Shenango County is in the process of one, and I think they've just reached 10, so it's harder, I would say, but not unachievable. LED streetlights. This is looking at converting any town-owned streetlights. Also, I would say the barrier with this one may be the cost, but in the end, it's a 70% reduction in savings, so it is worth the investment. December 1st is the day that NYSEG is releasing their tariffs, which have been long awaited, for not doing the buyout, but actually continuing to lease, but basically saying we want you to upgrade these as a town. And they have to give you a price on that day. So a lot of towns are waiting for December 1st, which is this Friday, I think. It's been a long time coming. So it may be something you want to look into, even if you don't do this as an action item. And maybe this is what you use the grant money for. That's also an option as well. I'm not sure how many streetlights you own, but...
None.
Or I'm not own, but you don't manage or lease any.
We don't own any.
You don't own any. Okay, that's
NYSEG
typical.
owns the ones in Trevor.
Okay, and that's the only ones that you pay for. It's just the Treadwell. Okay. Climate Smart Community Certification. This is actually a process where you would be certified by the DEC for climate smart practices. It is a little bit more difficult of a process. It is achievable. I would say as far as time constraints go, this may not be the one you want to pursue, but something to think about doing maybe in the future, because there are other grants available.
I see there's one spot in Delaware County.
There is. That is the Village of Delhi. They signed the pledge last year, although they haven't been certified yet. So. And then last but least, community choice, last but not least, community choice aggregation, which you may have heard about. There's a group called MEGA that is one of the options that can help you with this process. Again, a bit longer of a process, but certainly something I can help you look into if you're interested. Basically, kind of aggregating your energy use, and I'm sure many of you have heard of this concept. So, and there's a few towns I think in the county that are thinking about doing this. So as far as what I recommend as next steps, based on kind of your progress already, I would say begin moving forward with passing the benchmarking resolution if that's something that you agree is a good path. The code enforcement training, which you're already signed up for, so just making sure that that kind of goes through. And then deciding the fourth potential one. So what do you think is the best fourth one for the town, the most achievable? Setting some follow-up meetings, discussing the grant.
No, just a question.
Yeah.
10% as just comparing, I don't know what Hamden had,
Right.
but by upgrading their lighting, they saved 300% or 300 and a phenomenal number.
Yeah, that's absurd.
You know, so you wouldn't be talking about changing the lighting in the whole building, because it's the only building you'd be the 1,000 square feet.
Is this the only 1,000 square foot building
Right.
that the town made? Okay, so that's important.
You know, like the shop lighting might, something that could get done within a month, month and a half's time, and get to the 10% benchmarking, because if, as I said, if Hamden went through and did their lighting, and I presume that's what it was for, is mainly lighting.
Yeah, with lighting.
And got a 300% drop in greenhouse electricity, it wouldn't take the whole building to redo the whole lighting in all the
Right.
building to meet it. Yes, Don?
Hey, just another thought, you also mentioned like the heating system at some point.
Right.
It has to be upgraded. That might be another logical candidate
Right.
that would give you a big,
Well, the only thought I've had on that, Donnie, right now is, we can't be without a heating system right now, so if they're changing the furnaces out, we may be in trouble. That was my only thought on that, maybe not, maybe they could change it, because it'd be in the same area, I would think.
yeah.
And I mean, that's, I thought about that too, should have done this about 3
Well, we
minutes
just had a
ago.
couple electric burners out here.
So there is a
But, you
cost.
know,
There is
just
a
a lighting
cost.
factor.
There is a cost, just so you know, to the LED upgrades.
Right.
I mean,
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
you can do them yourself. Hampton did, they used a NYSEG program that's called the Small Business Energy Efficiency Program, where basically they come out, this group called Lime does an assessment, and they pay for, it ended up being close to half of the project is what NYSEG's paying for. So then the town has to pick up the other part of that. So,
Right. But if your savings,
it's an
is,
investment.
you know, and it's
Oh,
investment, and that's
right.
where, and realistically, the charging station isn't high on,
Right.
I think, the board's list. This would be something, you know, this $2,500. I know it's not gonna go a long ways,
Right.
but if you only have to do half the building
Yeah.
to meet the 10%,
Reduction, which
reduction.
I certainly think you would. I mean, even Meredith was like a 70% reduction, which,
Right.
and did their LED upgrades, and that included all of their other buildings and stuff as
Right.
well. And that includes all heat and everything, so you're not just looking at,
right,
electricity.
I understand saving money, but to me, it just seems short-term, because eventually, when everybody starts converting, NYSEG is gonna up the rates, because they sell electricity.
Hmm.
See, so I don't see where it's any,
Right,
you're doing nothing. And
right. Well, I guess,
if everybody starts doing it quick with all these wonderful grants, it won't take long to.
right. It's hard to say. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know what NYSEG's gonna do at this point. I know the state is trying to push it, but yeah.
So.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
well, they may not be raising their electric rates, but they're gonna raise their delivery charges. Because they need and they're the only ones that are paid the delivery charge.
Exactly.
Electric
So-
rates can come from anybody. Well, I mean, but I see your point, but, I think we should,
Because it's been done, schools have spent tens of thousands of dollars to upgrade electricity, and then 5 years later, because they all went to the Florida acid compacts, and then they hired someone and over a part-time job, that was all he was supposed to do, was handle that grant, what
Right.
they got. And then a few years later, they all became worthless because the LED came up.
Hmm.
And that was the end
Those
of that.
improvements.
There went all that tens of thousands of dollars of grant money, magic money out of the sky, was
Mhm.
gone.
Well, I think that could be an option for you. There's certainly the option to do the heating systems as well, if that seems like, I think the cost could be maybe similar. It's
Right.
hard to say. You'd really have to get an estimate on that. I've only seen LED upgrade as far as the cost goes, but, and also anything you want to do, you want to think about the, how quick it can be turned around. Because I
Right.
think you've seen that we're kind of running low on the grants here, so it's not something to drag your feet on
Right.
if you are interested in
Yep.
getting the grant. So the other end of it too is figuring out what you want to use the grant money for. So I think that I've seen sometimes that's what's really driving the process, is to figure out what could we use $50,000 for, and kind of making that endpoint
Right.
the reason for moving very quickly. So if you really have a need for something, I think that could be
Right.
a good idea.
Any other questions for Tara? Tara?
I guess I'm a little confused on the green energy, like how it saves carbon, build up, or you're gonna plug these into the grid, right? And this is out of the question. So, we're taking a new product that requires 240 volts, plugging it in some areas there's a coal or a natural gas thing.
Right. It's not addressing the supply at this point. It's addressing, well, with that project, it's not addressing supply. It's addressing strictly the energy use. So when you're doing an LED upgrade from maybe what was in there previously, when I was looking at the list, you're going down from maybe 70 watts to 13 watts. So that's where you're kind of saving the energy. If you want to look at supply, it would be more of the solar, installing solar for the town and actually generating your own energy, which is an option as well. But just all kind of cost-saving measures, I guess you could say. So.
Any other questions?
If the town became eligible for this grant, could the money be used as a match to other grants?
Yes, they actually encourage that. The points scale that you saw that I showed before, it's looking for other sources of private or public funding that could be providing 50,000, depending on the project, may not go a long way. So that is something that you might want to consider. The town might want to consider is to figure out, you know, if the project looks like a larger than $50,000 project, we might want to pursue something else, but it's not required. It's just maybe will get you a few more points on the grant application. So,
And I asked that only, and I don't know, but the gentleman from Delaware Engineering, for example, when he was talking about the funding that's available from the court system
Right.
and from the record system, I don't know if they require matches, but if they do, and the town pursued them,
Right.
this would be an easy win.
I don't think the court would be matching funds, I don't believe it.
this
It's a
doesn't
separate-
require matching
Right.
funds, but there's others that do, and you could use them in conjunction, so.
Because we had a JCAP grant. Well, this year, I think we're still spending some
Still
of it.
spending now, so I think, I don't know if that is it.
But like the O'Connor Foundation, their grants require matching funds. So that would be a place you could probably look for additional funding.
Right,
Right.
okay, any more questions for Tara?
Tara, I have a question.
Sure.
What about generating hot water? So in other words, rather than electricity, solar, hot water, solar, are there
Oh, like using the solar
Yeah.
for other things?
Yeah,
That would work. Solar isn't one of the steps for the grant, you know, the designation process, but as far as using the grant money for, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, you know, a solar installation, whatever it's being used for, would be probably approved by NYSERDA. I couldn't imagine that they would turn that down, because that's literally the definition of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, so, yeah. That could be an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, you know, now this benchmarking resolution, which I do, well, it's right here, Don's got it. Now, we approve the benchmarking resolution, then get the figures for it? Or get the figures for it and then approve?
You would approve I mean, you could do it either way, but you don't need, the benchmarking resolution is the only thing that NYSERDA needs to see in order to say that this was a completed action item. The portfolio manager we could figure out in the next few months. The resolution is, you'll see there's some language in there that does hold the town to releasing the energy use data by this date. I think it's in there as like May 31st or something. So that's really you holding your own selves accountable for that.
For it,
But
right.
NYSERDA is not looking for documentation on that.
May 1st.
May 1st, yeah. Which you can change if you feel that's not the appropriate
Versus-
date. But
No later than May 1st of 17.
yeah.
Or every year
Yeah, so
thereafter.
you'll want to change that.
Or every year thereafter, it does say that afterwards, right?
Go back in time.
Ready? Yep, yep.
Jeff and Tara,
Yes.
on section 4, disclosure and publication of benchmarking information, part 2 talks about publication of the information and reports on the internet. Does that have to be a town internet, or can that be any internet location?
You know, it's just got to be. I think it can be any. I don't think that NYSERDA would have a problem with that. I've had towns that have actually said they don't want to put it online, so you could take out that clause if that's not something that you feel like a lot of your residents use. So you could just say we're going to post it at the, you know, the office.
Right.
That's fine, or have it available. You know, so it's not a requirement, but I think that wouldn't be a problem. So.
Okay, well, the board member, has everybody got a copy of this available resolution?
this,
No, you don't. You just got this flyer. Well, we
Yeah.
can get copies for you, and if anybody else wants to see a copy of it, if you don't have a copy of it, Dawn can, of the resolution, so we can look it over and see if there's other issues with it, because we have a meeting next Tuesday.
right.
And I can send you, I mean, I can even plug in some more information for the town and send it to you to make it even easier, you know, the name and some of the other things, and highlight some of the things that I think are important to maybe discuss. There's just a few in that resolution, so.
You know, go I mean, go forward with benchmarking, yes. But I think the one thing we should be looking at is the 10% savings on green gases for the lighting. Because if we can, if you do only half the lighting in the building, which has been brought up, it needs upgrading. It's not, it's old, it's
Right.
30, 84.
Like this light here, I mean,
Yeah.
the ballast
really-
is bad, it's
yeah.
kind of senseless to buy a ballast when
When you buy the whole
Probably should
fixture
just
for the
buy-
same price.
Right,
Right.
go
So-
with LED, you don't need a ballast.
Right, right.
So what I can do is I can put you in touch with the small business energy efficiency
Okay.
person that they'll basically give you somebody that comes out and does a free estimate. From there, what'll happen is they'll give you the quote, they'll
Yep.
tell you how much they'll pay, how much the town would be.
Right, right.
And then you can even, I think Hamden was an example where they gave them a quote and they decided they didn't want to do the whole building, so they
Oh,
cut, they cut out a few rooms or a few rooms that they never used and
Mm-hmm.
they said, this is more of the price we're looking to pay. So
Oh,
that's an
okay.
option too. So once you get the full quote, you could say, this room maybe
Right.
we wanna, and I can help you kind of work through that to
Okay.
figure out what you think as far as the 10%. I don't think it'll be a problem to
right.
achieve.
I mean, this room, it probably should have new lighting, there's no doubt.
It
But
would-
even one of the,
It's not gonna save you as much money as
As
out
the
there,
shop,
cause
though.
those
Right.
lights
Are on
run a
more.
lot more than these lights are on.
right, and I do the other side,
I assume
But,
you
I
figure
mean-
that too. like-
Yeah, it's about the whole use and then,
Right.
so, and honestly, I mean, there was a positive review, I guess, from Hamden as well, their garage guys, that they loved the new lighting, and they felt like they could see without turning all the other shops, so,
Right.
it's aesthetically pleasing as well, I
right,
suppose,
right,
so.
yep. No, I know it's been brought up the shop, the lighting out there is the old 8-foot fluorescent
Mm-hmm.
fixtures. And they could, right, they don't like cold, and, you just get, the new ones are,
Mm-hmm.
there's no doubt. I think it is the way to go, as you said, from a 60-watt bulb to a
Yeah, it's
LED
about
bulb,
15, yeah.
you're talking 9 watts compared to, whatever. And I know we've done it all in our house, we changed them over, within 6 months we moving in.
Mm-hmm.
It was a used home, but I can squint, whatever. But,
Just one more question, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You had mentioned the NYSER program that Hamden used to
Yes.
help fund, what was that called?
It's called the Small Business Energy Efficiency Program. If you Google that, you can very easily find it. It's basically they're paying like matching, portion. They're helping LED upgrades, and I'm not sure who that's being funded by, but
And they just come out and give a quote
Yep.
for the area
They-
that you want and.
yep, they hire a contractor. I think right now they're using Lime Energy, and that's who did Hampton and Meritus. And they come out and they just do an estimate, and then they pretty much, if you say, we're good to go within the week, they'll come back with the LED lights and do the upgrades. So it's a very, very quick process.
well, thank you very much.
Yes,
All right,
of course.
We'll keep in touch,
Okay, yep,
and we'll go forward with this.
awesome.
Well, probably next thing on the agenda is that we all ought to wish Dawn a happy birthday. And now, Marion, you want to lead the chorus?
I can leave. I've heard it enough. Let's do it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dawn. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
Hey, very good.
That's right.
Thank you, Marianne.
No problem.
Oh, these letters.